here that's working. I'll hold this up, hopefully you'll be able to see. Let me just rotate this. There we go, yeah. So right now, no disc. I have a very old CD here. Put this in. It's reading. I can feel it spinning. It comes up with no name because and it's playing. Everything is as it should be. Now let's see the unit that is still faulty. Also, you will notice that I am doing this in my kitchen. You will also see that I'm using less than optimal tools. It's just so you can see that really anybody can do it, and also I'm not a professional. So no disc, everything up to this point looks normal. To use the same CD as the other disc, say reading in the display, but I can hear that the motor isn't spinning, and in a minute, there we go, disc error. Not what you want on your still plastic wrapped, pretty much brand new CD player. American Audio, you really need to up your game. This is an aging player now, but still, come on, it's just not good enough. So I'll start by saying that I bought replacement laser and drive units off the internet. I paid $24 including shipping to Europe. It comes from Asia. It is the KSM 213 QCS. It comes complete with laser, spindle, gears, metal rail, has the control boards, has nearly everything you need on it. There's one little bit which is a magnet that sits in the top of the spindle, which is a real pain to get out of the existing unit, the one that's already in there. Hence why this ended up looking like this. I had to use some fairly unsophisticated force in order to get that. Anyway, I'll turn this off, I'll unplug it. At this stage, I'd say if you are in any way serious about electronics, you should stop the video, walk away, perhaps not watch any further. If, on the other hand, like me, you're the happy-go-lucky type, you just really want your CD decks to work and don't want to spend a fortune doing it, and don't want to go and invest a whole load of money in different equipment, anti-static. What I will say is, if it turns out I fry this through static shock, it's $20. Not really a big deal in the big scheme of things. So fairly unsophisticated. Also, I'm using screwdrivers with half magnetic tips. Not really ideal, but it's what I've got lying around. So in order to get into the CD player, 3 screws here that I'll remove, and have a number of screws in the bottom here that I'll remove. For now, I'm leaving those because the screw heads on the inside that I need to have a screwdriver inserted into so that I can twist them off. So, start out with these. This is the long screwdriver that's needed here. And put these to one side. These 3 screws are different to those up here. You'll note that the screw head is larger and the actual screw itself is shorter. Also, you may have noticed that I put the CD player upside down on a towel. That's because I'm doing this on my kitchen work surface and I don't really want to damage the CD player in any way, shape or form, because when they work they're pretty good and I really enjoyed using them. So let's see here. So I've removed all the screws around the perimeter. I'm now removing the ones in the center. And they're the same. So, as you just saw there, I've left these two screws here. I don't know, yeah, you can take it apart without, just be careful you do, because there's two leads connecting the front panel to the actual CD player itself. So I'm going to go ahead and gently unplug this one. And then I can tip this down. I can gently maneuver this flat cable out. There we go. And now the front is completely removed from the back section. No need to remove any of the buttons or worry about breaking any of the little plastic bits there. It's nearly like it was made to come apart. So, in front of me, sit down. In front of me now I have the guts of the CD player. That's the power supply. This is the USB controller board. That's the actual audio board that controls both the drive and the outputs. And this is the drive unit itself. If you've ever taken apart a standard CD player or indeed an old CD-ROM drive, you'll notice that there are a lot of similarities. You'll also note on the controller board it says CDI 600 and it's mentioned a couple of times across the print. So I don't know if there is a CDI 600 unit, but it's likely that they share parts. So the bit that we're interested in at the moment that's not working is this bit. When you insert the disc is registered, it doesn't spin, so it doesn't read, and rather than trying to troubleshoot the laser and motor unit, I'm simply going to replace the lot. It's just easier. It's fairly plug and play, as you'll see in a bit. We're just coming up to 12 minutes on the timer now. I'm actually surprised at how quickly this is going, given that I've only done one before. So down here, there's this little black doohickey holding some of the cables in place. I've gone ahead and I've unfurled that. There are two sets of red and white leads, and I need to make sure that they don't get tangled up so they break, because the last thing I want to do is be replacing leads in there. There's a couple of ribbon cables, flat cables, which you can just gently pull out of their sockets. There'll be blue marks on there. It's worth noting that they're not twisted as they go into the socket, so just when you go to plug them in again, don't twist them. I'm not actually sure if they'll go in if you twist them, but and there is a wider there. There's a controller cable there as well for the laser unit, so I'm going to go ahead and unplug that as well. There we go. Just you can see that's unplugged, and there is this one here. It's red. I couldn't tell you what it does. There. Just gently pulling on the leads, or you can, if you can fit your fingers in, fairly chubby fingers, you should be able to sort of pull at the plug rather than the lead, because when you pull at the leads, there is the danger that you might actually pull the lead out of the plastic socket itself. But you just don't pull hard, alright? It'll be fine. And that is it. So there is this cable tie here, which holds these cables in place. I'm going to go ahead and actually cut the cable tie. No, I'm not, because I don't have the pliers. I'm going to leave that in place, but right now I'm going to take out the drive unit itself. So I have these four nuts sitting on to the screws here. There's four going around holding the drive in place. So this is where my unprofessionalism really shows. So I'm taking a screwdriver. I'm going to use this one. Pliers. And the manufacturer, or American Audio, have used some sort of locking fluid, Loctite or whatever. It's fairly shitty. It just means that they won't come loose. If you have it lying around, I'd say use it. If you don't, it's not a big deal, I find. There you go. So there's a disc, and there's the nut. So keep them. Make sure you don't lose them, because they're essential. And there is the screw. There we go. Just standard machine screw. So as you can see, I could actually loosen that a fair bit just by holding it with my fingers and using the screwdriver on the other side. That's just how useless that locking fluid is. Just be careful you don't do what I just did there. gently lifting the drive out, and I am going to unplug that red and white cable. Go, and that is the big red and white cable. Okay, so now I can put this bit away. Now, it's worth noting that just before taking this apart, I had this unit plugged in, and the power supply circuitry is over there. There's a couple of capacitors in there. Now, I didn't actually make sure that they were discharged before doing this, so I'm taking a risk. Normally, I'd leave it sitting for a while before taking it apart, just to make sure that they're discharged. But you can get away with just not putting your hands near it, and certainly don't put a screwdriver or anything in it. Do a visual inspection at the tops of the capacitors to see if they're bulging. In both my units they were fine, and there's actually markers where I can see that the manufacturers have tested them as well. You may be able to pick them up. There's a couple of black marks on top of them. But yeah, everything looks good from an electronics point of view. So, this is where the fun starts. This is the drive. I'm going to leave the cables attached, so I don't have to mess any of the manufacturer's sticky tape and stuff. The fun bit is underneath. You recognize the similarity. This is the underside of the laser. There's the laser controller. This is the drive, and that's the other drive. Okay, so we have 4 spring-loaded screws, rubber feet, to make sure that the unit doesn't skip. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove those now. Screwdriver. You'll note the screwdriver is too big. Where did I leave my small screwdrivers? Okay, so I have this cheapo electronics screwdriver set I picked up for like €5. That's about what, $7. Sure, one of these will fit. What I will say is, when you take them out, you get 3 parts. You get the spring, you get the disc, you get a long thin screw. Just make sure you note how far the springs are compressed, and then when you do it up, do it to roughly the same measure, and make sure they're even the whole way around. Okay. So, here we have our faulty unit. We need the rubber feet for the new unit. So, as you can see, they kind of just sit in to the sides. Just be careful when you pull them out that you don't tear them, because I haven't actually, I'm sure you can get them on the internet, but I haven't found any supplier that provides them. And same with that. It's a little magnet that sits in the top of the CD spindle. It actually reacts to another magnet which sits in that bit there, and if you don't take that bit and put it into the replacement unit, the drive won't lock the CD, lock around the CD, and it won't actually detect that the disc is entered. Well, it will, but it won't send the message to the board that it has a disc in it and it needs to spin up. So we need to get that out. I will just go ahead and unplug the leads. Just make sure that you note that the red wire goes at the edge of the laser board. The plug won't go in the wrong way around as far as I remember, but just something to keep in mind. And flat cable out of the controller, there we go. Just keep them to one side. So this is the old unit. There's only really one way to get that out, as far as I can tell, and from when I spoke to Deezer as well, and that was brute force. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that now. Big pliers. Go. So, as you can tell, this is now completely mangled and good for nothing, but I did get the little magnet. Putting that over with screws, and this is now for the bin. Oops. So, before I lose this, I'm going to put it on here. There we go. It's a very snug fit, but it's a perfect fit. One thing I also need to point out is, and I didn't pick up on this when it was explained to me the first time around, so Deezer actually had to tell me a couple of times, is there is a double solder, I forget the technical term for it, on the back of the controller board for the laser. It's there, next to my nail. You might be able to see it here, I'll show you. There, okay, so it's that one there. You just notice that the blob is slightly bigger than anything else, and if you look at the circuitry, you'll actually see that it covers 2 lines, whereas everything else is just 1 line. So I have a soldering iron just off camera, and I'm going to turn that on now and let it heat. Then when it's done, I'm going to remove that solder, because with the solder in place, the laser won't actually move. Yeah, I'm not sure why they've put it there, but such is life. There we go. So you can see now, you should be able to see now, there, instead of one solid blob, I have 2 little things. Yes, and I know I need to cut my nails. Oh. Right. So, rubber feet on. these came out. There's a bit of a groove that fits in around. There we go, and they sort of sit in snugly. Just make sure they sit right and that they're not pinched on either side. And also quite important, do not be tempted to touch the laser. I know it's shiny, and there we go. Rubber feet in, all facing the same way. Now I can get the drive back. It is here. Okay. Also, I can reconnect the cables. Just be real gentle when you push these in, because you really don't want to break either. These are easy enough to repair. These are a real pain in the ass, to say the least. So be careful, alright? Now, when you drop this in, there's only really one way to do it. Just make sure that the spindle lines up with the spindle, the back of the drive, or you'll just be lifting it out again. No big deal. So drop it down. The 4 rubber feet should expand. One of mine hasn't. And is that because I have it in the wrong way around? Yes, it is. Isn't it? Yes. No big deal. Just pay attention and you'll notice it. There we go. So, new unit in place. 4 rubber feet. They look like they should. And now to put the springs back on. Little screwdriver. Now when I took these off, I noticed that the disc couldn't move, so there was no room between the top of the foot and the disc itself. So that's what I'm doing when I'm tightening them. You'll also notice that I'm not doing side by side, I'm doing across, same as if you change a wheel on a car. I don't know if it makes any difference, I just want to make sure that the drive sits as flat as possible in relation to the, or the laser sits as flat as possible in relation to the rest of the drive. It just seems to make sense, I think. So I'm not being very careful with my screwdriver because it was just cheap, and I don't expect to use it for much more than this. I don't know if Maplin is an international chain, but that's where I got it. You can also pick them up on the sites as eBay. I mean, if you don't have a set, just order at the same time as you order the laser units. You'll be fine. Just make sure that the spring sits into the rubber feet, and all mine do. There we go. Sorted. That's the drive done. Now, to put it back into the player, so you remember I disconnected some wires in the beginning. When I remove this, it's important now to connect them all up, or you will be taking this apart again. So there was one at the front. I'll just make sure as well that you don't get tangled on all the LEDs and stuff that's in there. One on the front. There was the red wire. It's there. Plug it back in gently. Click into place. There was the controller lead for the laser, the flat cable. There was the large white block next to the radiator. There was the flat cable here. I can't remember. I think that's for the loading mechanism. Okay, and now that's the black doohickey there. I actually ended up disconnecting the cable differently than to what I did last. So, now I have the drive in place. I'm not going to fix it in just yet. I'm actually going to be bold and test the unit at this stage. The rest of the procedure is just putting the screws and the bolts in place for the actual drive. So I just want to see if this works or if I've done something wrong. Here is the top. There's the flat lead. Connects to the controller board. Just be careful you don't break that. I think I maybe did. Just I'm just going to twist that. I'll put that in. Now I'm not sure if this is actually essential to have connected. It's just a USB lead. And now for some power. Where is my CD? Again, same crappy old CD. So I'm just going to drop the lid over here. Just sitting down loosely. Loading. Reading. I can hear it spinning. No text, and we're cold. It's playing. Yeah, let me just see. I'll show you here. There you go. So that took me 38 minutes to get to this stage, and that's including talking and pointing. So I'll go ahead and reassemble.